All right, so this is a part I was waiting on because I am excited to remove a quite controversial part for me. This CNC block. This CNC block metal, because I want to remove this axle and throw this away. Well, I have to pick it up. Why? Why do you want this? Do you want this because if you want to remove this thing, you are not able to remove it because just getting rid of it unless you cut it or something, because this whole thing has this block integrated in it. Let's see if it actually works. So, okay, the measurements, and when I want to check if whether or not this clears, okay, cool, it clears, so we're good. All right, so let's install the wheel. Unless you're new to this channel, you have never seen me install a wheel, but I've done it a lot of times, so I'm not gonna bore you with that. But what I want you to notice is that at a certain time, I started to kind of struggle with installing this wheel, and I'm going to explain you why. All right, so last time I was in the process of replacing the rear sprocket, and I installed the spacers and I got everything in place after kind of fighting with the tire. And then when I went to put the axle through, I realized that, oh, I don't feel like I have enough, enough slack on my chain to kind of pull it back so I can get my axle through. So I'm like, I only went up like 2 teeth in the back rear sprockets. I'm like, is it really that tight, the chain? And then I realized, I still have the original 16 in the front, which I'm intending to change to a 15 at some point. But the part that I forgot is the fact that I lowered this bike an 1.5 inches. So not only I need to account for a bigger sprocket in the rear and the fact that I haven't changed or the size on the front, but also the fact that the bike is now stretched because it's lower. So it's affecting or taking a little bit of the suspension. So I'm not able to kind of get the axle through. Let me show you. All right, so if you look here, I have a little bit of slack, of course, but if I pull, that's about what I get. So it's not enough to get it through. And even if I was able to get it through, it's not going to be enough for, have enough slack whenever this is on the ground. So I'm going to be replacing everything. All right, so if you're wondering why we're having to change, sprockets, blah, 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 whatever, primarily the link count on this bike, if I'm not mistaken, it's 112, which means that I need a longer chain in order to accommodate a bigger rear sprocket and the fact that I have a lower bike. So in case you're not following, when you add a new sprocket to your bike, normally you change everything, but you don't have to. You just have to know that if you change a sprocket or you put a new sprocket on a already used chain, they're not wearing at the same rate. So there's a chance that your new sprocket is gonna have to wear, in a faster way. So it's not gonna last, 10, 20,000 miles as you normally would with when everything is kind of wearing down the same way, right? So if you're okay with that, I've done it so many times. I've changed a chain that is still worth, using. I have put new sprockets in it. And that's never been a problem. Actually, this sprocket right here has been in multiple bikes of mine. So, and I've used it on chains that were already used, and I now using it in a used chain again, and you're not gonna see any trouble with this. So just peace of mind if you want to change everything at once. But if you, for example, you're racing and you are kind of going on this drag race, you're not going to be able to put a new chain every time you're kind of testing a new sprocket, right? So you're going to swap between sprockets, and that means because you're not necessarily putting a sprocket you're going to have there for 20,000 miles and then intending to use a new sprocket on a 20,000 mile chain. So that's kind of the where I'm coming from, if that does make sense. So this is a 525 pitch. I chose 525 because I have plenty of sprockets that are 525, not because it's the lightest of the bunch. It's actually the one in the middle. You either get 530, 525, or 520, or 530, 525, or 520. So I'm sticking with the 525 for now. So what I'm going to be doing now is just finding the mother link so I can remove this from my bike. And then I purchased a 120 links chain that I'm expecting is going to be accommodating, you know, with the extra 8 links, accommodating the fact that I have now a bigger sprocket in the rear. I might be adding a smaller one in the front, but it's going to be allowing me for pushing or pulling the rear tire as much as possible, because I'm adding extra length without losing the ability to, you know, adjust it and feel, you know, correct. All right, so if you look at the chain, you're not gonna see a lot of differences in it, besides the fact that you see, you know, all the links for the most part, they look the same, but there's always one that's going to be different. Okay, I found it. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's right through here. So I'm just gonna give you a close-up. Let me put this piece of wood in the bottom. So if you look at this, that's the mother, and you know that's the mother because it looks different than the other ones, and that's because that's the last link that was put together on this chain in order to close the chain, and that shape was given to it to avoid, you know, having the links or the pins dropping out and allowing the chain to come, you know, flying out. So in order for you to, you know, remove a chain, you're gonna have to get a kit like this. Oops. So you're gonna have to get a link like this where you have multiple tools for both reasons. One of them is to break the chain. So this is a chain breaker, and the other one, it's also to install the chain so that you can install the pins, you know, through the plate, and then you can use some of these tools to give a particular form or shape to the pin at the end. You want to make them look like a mushroom, where they're no longer going to be able to fit through a hole because of the shape. All right, so even though I have a chain breaker, I'm going to be breaking this chain without using a chain breaker because I want to show you how to do it with maybe a grinder, so in case you're not equipped with a specific tool that's going to be designed for that. Some people actually cut it with a grinder and a cutoff wheel. They're just gonna, you know, splice through it, just remove it, and that's it. I think that even though I've seen maybe some binding on this chain at some point, I think I can save it. So I'm just gonna save it for now. So that's the reason why I want to just remove the mother link and not going to be breaking it or cutting it as we discussed. Now that you have grinded the head of the pin, now you can remove the, you know, the plate by just making a little bit force with a screwdriver. Here's the mother, and now I should be able to push this to the back, and we have freed up the mother. And now we can remove the chain. Alright, so believe it or not, while I was recording this video, I also got my new sprocket. We're now going Vortex 15 instead of the 16 that I already have in my bike, which is essentially the same one you guys have. I have already demonstrated in other videos how to remove front sprockets, so I had already bolted this before removing the chain. So if you've never removed the chain before, you want to remove the bolts or the counter sprocket knot before you remove the chain, because it's gonna help you with, you know, kind of keeping the chain in place, and instead of just adding a lot of pressure to the transmission and having some leverage. So in case you have never seen them before or know the difference, I'll show you, this is the 16 that we're removing and this is the 15. So if you look, there's a size difference. It feels like slight size difference, but you know, it's enough that you can see it. And most importantly, if I were to match the teeth at the top, there's going to be a place at the bottom they're not going to match because they're not able to, because one of them has one less tooth before the other one. Reducing one tooth in the rear, it's actually equal to 1 to 3 teeth in the rear, so which is crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and install this one. I'm not going to torque it out or anything. I'm just going to match the splines to ensure that I can get it in. Okay, it's in. Now I'm just gonna put the washer. Okay, I'm gonna put the washer, and I'm only gonna do it hand tight. And now one thing that's very important is the fact that now that I can pull the wheel to the rear, I can slide the axle through. So now I can just play with this. Now I'm going to unbox or unwrap the chain. I'm going to run it through the sprockets so I can start working on putting the mother. This particular kit actually comes with two different mothers. It comes with two mothers. One of the mothers is a clip-on, and the other one is a traditional one that you have to install with a install tool like I showed you before. If you are not mechanically inclined or do not have the tools, you can always use a clip-on style. If you're thinking about leaving the clip-on style in a permanent basis, I will suggest that you put some RTV or something like that before you put the plate, just so you have some sort of like something kind of keeping them in place, because there's a chance that those are more, they have the possibility of like kind of coming off. Although I will say something, I purchased a super cheap chain 10 years ago, and I commuted on that chain for 10,000 miles with a clip-on style. So clip-on style is gonna stay, but the best way to do it is just with the the style where you're going to rivet and clip it in and kind of deform the clips and whatnot. So so now I'm just gonna start here. So I'm just gonna keep moving this forward. Come on, you can do it. Keep pulling the chain. Yep. And I'm now on top of the front sprocket, and I keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. Perfect. And here I am. This is a great view so you can see how this new chain is longer than the other one. Okay, so you now see that I can pull all the way back, and I'm actually back, and this is already overlapping, which means that I'm gonna have to make a decision and remove a few links before we continue. So I'm probably gonna want, I don't know, the chain somewhere like here so I can still have some actually I might go all the way to the front. You know what, no, I'm gonna go here, and then I just need to account for some slags when I'm pulling back, and how much I want to bring it back for the purposes of kind of making this as long as possible, but still keeping some opportunity for adjustment to account for wear and tear as long as the chain continues to stretch and whatnot. So this is halfway through, so let me put this in here. So here I'm trying to understand what is the best place for me to cut the chain. But in order for me to do that, I have to pull the wheel and see the slack on the chain and see how it reacts. I also have to compensate for whenever the bike is on the ground, because the fact that wheel is going to be touching the surface or the street or the road is going to be stretching the chain a little bit more. So I want to compensate for the size. I want to compensate for how low the bike is, but I also want to leave some space for future adjustment. So I play with the chain and the blocks and the adjustment screws, and I got to a place where I have some adjustment I have some slack still, so I'm going to removing this bolt right here, or this pin right here, so I can remove this section. We're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 5 links, and then I'm going to install the mother, joining this piece with this piece. Trying to work it out. So now I can remove this, so I can bring the chain up. Let me match it again. Okay, so you see that? So now, so I have the mother here with the clip-ons. You kidding me? So you can see it. You can see the writing on. There you go. You can see it on the links. But look at what it says on the mother they sent me. It says 530. So anyhow, good opportunity to show you how to install the clip-on, in case you didn't know. So the difference between the mother that I just showed you and this one is the fact that this one has those lines at the end. So the lines are made for this clip or safety clip, you know, just to go through those lines. I mean, it's gonna go through it, and then the plate is just gonna be pressed, and we're just gonna, you know, put that plate before. We're just gonna put that plate after we put this. So, all right, let's do it, because at least I can show you something, and this is easy to remove, and whenever I got the new mother, I can just install it. So that, not that big of a deal. Going to take the mother, you're gonna put one O-ring, and then the second one. Okay, you're going to run them. And this is a 520. My goodness, are you kidding me? So they sent me a 520 clip-on style mother. Oh mother. All right, so after waiting for a couple of days, I got my own 525 master link from RK. So yeah, thank you, Culture Change, because you messed up the order. So okay, so I have the link. I'm going to position the link in between the two other ones, and then this is the 525 that I got. So I put 2 O-rings on the inside, and then I'm going to be putting 2 rings here, and I'm gonna use some of the lubricants they have. So you normally apply this to the rings, and especially in this case it's gonna help us just to keep them in place. So I'm just gonna dab it, put it in here, try to push as much as possible so they expose most of it. So now I'm going to put the plate like so, and I'm going to start it by hand. So what I'm going to do is to take this, just to apply pressure initially. I'm just gonna apply pressure in the center. I'm going to get one of them started. So I'm going to just to get it started. Not looking for perfection nor. All right, cool. That's enough. That pressure right there, it's enough, and I'm going to show you why. In here, that was enough. That little pressure that I applied was enough to get that one started. Okay. So I'm going to get the second one started in the same way, just applying just a tiny pressure, just so I can, you know, get them kind of into place. Okay. Not looking for final, you know, connection. So okay, perfect. Right here, which is going to allow me to apply even pressure while allowing for the pins to go through the press plate, which is the correct name. Just gonna fix it in place. I'm going to grab the handle so I can have some leverage. Okay. Okay, so I'm now gonna go back. No shaming, continue to readjust. I'm not sure if you can tell, but the plate is actually in a better position right now, so it's actually almost showing. But if you compare this link to the other one, there's still ways to go, okay? So pressing, now I'm going more. Okay, so now let's go back, readjust. Okay, made more progress, perfect. Okay, so now for me to keep both in place, I actually put the other plating here, and what that's gonna allow me to do is just to keep pressure and keep the part that's exposed on the rivets on the side, on the back side, just in place, and that way it's just gonna stay centric. I mean, in a central position. Now I completely forgot about that when I did that. Man, it's been a while since I used this. Let's crank it more. If you don't have this tool, you can take something like a number 8 or maybe a small wrench, but you use the close side, you put it like this, it's gonna be smaller, right? Just so you can allow for the pins to go through, and then you can use the C-clamp and you start applying pressure. That's how I used to do it whenever I didn't have, you know, a dedicated tool for this, and it works great. But as
I'm not sure I understand.
Shut your mouth. Okay, so now you can see that it's more exposed, and now I'm taking a look at to see, you know, how distant is this, and I think it actually looks pretty good. I think I can go one more. So now in the same kit you have the anvil. In order for you to deform that so that it spreads out and no longer is going to fit through the hole, helping you to keep these, you know, in place. Gonna step on top of the thing, and now we're going to apply pressure so we can deform it. This is the one component I don't want failing on me. Okay. Now let me do the other one. We'll do them both in a single, in one shot now, and I'm going to show you the final product.
The number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
Okay, so this is the final product. So it can differ from, you know, whoever's doing it, but in this case you can see how, you know, the pin is now spread out, so I'm not concerned about the pin kind of going through the hole, so we should be good to go. So now it's very important just to remove all the grease that comes from factory whenever you get a new chain, because the grease is just gonna be here just to ensure that the chain is not gonna rust. So just make sure that you take a rag and you are going to clean it up, and before you can, you know, adjust and finally just lubricate the chain as you normally would.